I saw a piece by Mike Griffith at Dog Nation that talked about some numbers that I know have kept Kirby Smart up at night. And I also think this is another one of those years where Kirby might be doing one of his best jobs. This is such a young football team and such an inconsistent football team. I think Kirby did a hell of a job with that staff a year ago to get them where they were. We're kind of on that same trend. Now, I don't want to go too far. They're supremely talented. They get a ton of 5 stars and 4 stars, but they're a lot of young guys. But when I read you guys these numbers, you're going to kind of take a step back and say, they might have 3 losses under any other coaching staff right now. The Georgia defense is last in the SEC in sacks, and they are 120th in the nation. Anybody want to guess how many sacks Georgia has?
41.
8.
I was going to just say, guess 6.
They have 8 sacks on the season. Now, this has been an issue in years past, but sometimes it's been mitigated by the fact that Georgia just had NFL linebackers and NFL corners and safeties to cover up for the fact that they couldn't get home on a pass rush and or teams were getting rid of the ball so quickly. But you had Malachi Starks, and you had, stud corner, and you had Jalen Walker. You had all these pieces. It's different now. You're not able to with the youth. We've watched Ellis Robinson. You used the words earlier, grabbing, trying to make plays. Like we've seen really high-profile recruits that at some point you think will round into what Georgia considers top flight, but they're not there yet, so they're making inconsistent mistakes. So that's the defensive side of the ball. Georgia also ranks 8th in the SEC and 36th in the nation in stop rate, which is just a measure of a defense's ability to stop a drive, be it in points, turnovers, or turnovers on downs. Okay. It's not awful. It's not up to Georgia standards. Chuck, here's the problem. The other side of the ball is just nothing special. Offensively, Georgia is 6th in the SEC in rushing. That's 36th nationally. Okay. They're 7th in third down conversion rate, 28th nationally. Okay. They're 7th in total offense. They're 8th in scoring offense, and they're 8th in pass efficiency. There's nothing offensively or defensively that Georgia is better than just okay at. That is so weird and so strange for Kirby Smart teams that typically you'd be like, okay, defensively we're going to be elite at this. We're going to be elite at havoc rate, or we're going to be elite at pass rush, or we're going to be
You're using that word. Be careful using that word.
The word elite, I know, but they've conditioned us.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Okay, so on the off year that Georgia's defense isn't there, Todd Monken conditioned us to, we can be top 10 offensively, top 10 in points, top 10 in pass efficiency, top 10 in red zone, all the things. Right now, the numbers don't back up the record that they could have lost to Tennessee, could have lost at Auburn, and to their credit, the coaching staff and that team could have lost to Ole Miss. And they found ways. The numbers tell you it's a very slippery slope if this continues. The only good news is the schedule before Georgia Tech is incredibly manageable.
But that's that word, and I say be careful about it. I want to say maybe it was the Georgia Tech game in Atlanta a few years ago maybe. He's walking off the field, and the sideline reporter had to blah, 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 and he'd lead. He's like, hang on, be careful. That means something in Athens. He was serious about it. He was friendly, but he was serious about it. And they're not elite. They have some elite talent and some elite rated players, and I don't have any questions about the coaching in Athens. I really don't. People look at Shubin and go, why aren't you as good as Dan Lanning and Kirby himself? Okay, if you can ask that question. But there's an answer, and I don't know that it has to do with Glenn Schumann because, I don't know, I look at C.J. Allen, I look at Raylan, I look at Chris Cole, I look at all the Elijah. Those are monsters. Those are studs. Those are guys I can go to war with. And the results aren't nearly the same. So are you soft? That's what everybody, like a lot of former LSU players, talking about Brian Kelly. We're soft now. And I was like, that's about the worst thing you can say because I've got a defense with Harold Perkins running around and we're soft. So something has changed. It may be you can't coach them as hard. Back in the day, we talked with Chris Landry about this. Bama and Georgia and Ohio State, there were 3 programs where they would look at a 5-star receiver and say, I got 3 more on the bench. You better unscrew your head. And you can't do that anymore. That's part of it as well.
Oh, I agree. I think there's such a level of inconsistency with this young group that is not typical for Kirby. Kirby loves playing young players, but I think it was sprinkled in more with veterans. Like we laugh at his love for Dan Jackson or his love for Cash Jones. He loves guys who know where they're going to be, know what they have to do. Ellis Robinson's talent is through the roof. KJ Bolden's talent is through the roof. Dalen Everett's talent's through the roof. But for every good or a couple of good plays, there's a couple of bad ones that remind you how young they are, and they're not overcoming that consistently.
I think Ellis Robinson is the highest-rated recruit in the history of the Georgia program. And I know that only goes back to like 2000, but I think he's the highest-rated recruit that you have. If you look at Mo Smith, do you remember Maurice Smith transfer?
Yep.
he was never the fastest or the biggest or the strongest. He was vital to Kirby because we talked about this with Stench about a month ago. I think Kirby has a real comfort zone with looking at a player and I need to see one of me out there. I saw Stetson. I saw Dan Jackson. Maurice Smith. That's me out there. Maurice Smith, he won the Auburn game, by the way, with a pick 6. So, you still have the potential to make those plays, but I needed an adult who speaks the language, who's played. That's Cash Jones. That's Dan Jackson. That was Maurice. That's a lot of guys he has gravitated towards.
Well, I think those guys in his mind might not make the play, but they're always in position. They're never going to be out of position to make those plays, and that's been a thing. But as I said, this schedule, it's a weird year in college football, so yes, somebody can sneak up and get you, but Georgia's got Florida, Miss State, home with Texas, and then Charlotte before the Tech game, and those are all, again, manageable.
Miss State's there, isn't it? In
it is.
Starkville.
Yep.
Okay.
Don't ask them how they're feeling after this past Saturday.
They've had 2 straight overtime losses at home. They had Tennessee and Texas in overtime, both of them.
Yep. Didn't really work out for them.